Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a guest on my YouTube, Bolaji Billions. He's going to introduce himself in a second, but this video is simply just to, again, let you guys know of the different career paths in psychology. And he's going to be speaking from his field and his specialty in psychology. So, Mr. Bolaji, could you please introduce yourself?
Oh, thank you for having me, Sandra. My name is Bolaji. Simply, right? She calls me Bolaji Billions, but the billions are coming anyways. but I started my career as a biochemist. Now I'm a psychologist. I study psychology. Let me say I'm a psychologist. Study psychology, and now I'm into cognitive science. Most of the times during undergrad, a lot of people believe, or a lot of psychology students or major believe that the only place where they have a career path is clinical psychology, or most times also industrial or organizational psychology. If you don't want to be HRs, you don't want to be clinical psychologists or therapists and all of that, which are fantastic, aspects of psychology, but there's more to psychology than just being a clinical psychologist or an industrial and organizational psychologist. There's cognitive psychology, there's neuroscience, there's cognitive neuroscience, there's neuropsychology. There's economics, that talks about machine designs for humans and all of that. So, human machine interactions, that's economics and all of that. So, systems design. And there are whole lot of aspects of psychology, and I wouldn't want anyone who is watching who is here to make a decision to be narrow-minded, to just think about it as clinical psychology or industrial organizational psychology. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, Balaji, what field exactly in psychology are you in, and how did you get into it? Please, again, can you speak up a little bit loudly?
Okay. So I'm into cognitive science, embodied cognition. So before I say how I got into it, just want to explain what embodied cognition means. So traditional psychology studies the mind, right? Studies how the brain affects our behavior. The brain being the seat and control of human behavior. Study how that seat of control affects all of the things we do, and all of our actions basically. But then in embodied cognition, in layman terms, embodied cognition goes away from the traditional look at cognitive science. It looks at cognitive science from an aspect where, we're talking about how does the body now, right, affects the brain, affect our behavior. For example, someone who was born with all of their limbs complete and maybe was involved in an accident and was involved in an accident and maybe they had to amputate one of their arms, the functioning arm, maybe the right arm, which they use for writing and all of that. That would definitely affect, how they look at things going forward. Then when I start talking about neuroplasticity and all of that, their body will have to, their brain now will have to adjust, be retrained and adapt and adjust to the realities of what happened to their body. So that's an instance, I'm just saying. But there are many instances of embodied cognition, human robotics interaction. You're also looking at a calculator, for example. Now we talk of stuff like in embodied cognition, we talk of stuff like extended mind. You're trying to calculate something, but then you can't bring your mind to calculate it, but then you can impute on a calculator. In that instance, does the calculator serve as an extended mind? So there are many questions embodied cognition asks, questions about numerical cognition, numerosity, how do children learn arithmetic, finger counting, how finger counting helps in arithmetic, and a whole lot of things. So it's an aspect of cognitive science, that looks at cognition from the angle.
Okay. So, do you think this field in psychology is actually growing in Nigeria? By the way, we are in Nigeria right now. We're shooting this video in Ikeja, GRA, in case you do not know. So, but yeah, do you think this field is growing in Nigeria? And if, how many people can you say off the top of your head that are practicing in this field right now?
Okay, so I don't think, based on my own knowledge, I don't think that I can't say that I know of anybody who is into embodied cognition in Nigeria, as it were. I know there are people doing stuff in neuroscience, maybe people in medicine that are doing stuff on neuroscience, neurology, you know, some stuff, neurosurgeon, neurosurgery or they are neurosurgeons and they are, I mean, into neurosurgery and all of that. But then cognitive science, as it were, most schools in Nigeria just focus on the psychology aspect. They really do not have a lot of institutions talk about, yeah, they do. I know I offered cognitive science as a course in university during my undergrad, but then it's not like a department on its own, as opposed to what it is I'm going to be studying in Potsdam. So for in Nigeria as of today, I don't think cognitive science is popular, right? And I think that's because people are not aware of the possibilities, that there is in the cognitive science.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think I know one person who has done something in cognitive science.
Okay.
She owns a mental health facility somewhere in Lekki as well. And it was very, very interesting. The first day I met her, like, I had so many conversations, and it was so enlightening because we truly don't know the opportunities that there are, and especially in psychology with our field right now, all we see is just clinical psychology, industrial psychology, counseling, and all of that, and it's a full stop. But a lot of people don't realize how much psychology, how broad psychology is, and the possibilities that there are in the field. So, speaking of which, how did you get into this field?
So, like I said, I started out as a biochemist. I had to, at some point in university, I had to change my department to psychology. And the natural part would be to say, oh, since you're coming from biochemistry, or since you wanted to be a doctor, the old doctor thing from when we were young, and the natural thing would be for me to go into clinical psychology. But then again, I gave it a long and hard thought to say this is really what I want to do. And I remember that in one of our cognitive psychology classes, we talked about artificial intelligence, which is an area I really love because on the side I've been doing a lot of analytics, and I've gone for artificial intelligence boot camps, and I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. If the world is talking about industrial revolution and they're talking about AI and machine learning and all of that, I feel that they can't go ahead with all of this, and they can't succeed so much in these things without the help of psychologists, because most of what they're trying to do is to mirror the brain, mirror the activities of the brain. So if they're trying to mirror the activities of the brain and there's nobody to interpret how the brain works, or affects our behavior, then I feel that there will be some gaps, in the machines they create and in the artificial intelligence systems they provide. So, and I just got interested right away, and then I knew that, okay, whatever I'm going to do for my postgrad, if I'm going to pursue a career in psychology, it has to be cognitive psychology based or cognitive science, something that has to do with artificial intelligence.
That is so interesting. This is the first time we're actually ever sitting down to talk about this in detail. I mean, I've known you since 2020, thereabout, and it's really, really interesting to have this conversation. And so, ideally, what would you advise any young psychology graduates watching this video, or somebody still in school or whatnot? Would you advise them to go into this field? And if so, what is one singular advice you would give to them?
Yeah, I feel that for psychologists who are still young psychologists, I mean, we can't call you a psychologist until you have a master's degree or something. But then, if you are in school present and you're watching this as an undergrad in psychology, I want you to open your mind to the possibilities. It might not be cognitive science. Like I mentioned, economics. I mean, there's a way you can find your way into economics as a psychologist or as a psychology student, because then when people make machines, they're making it for human beings. Human beings will use it. Product design. I mean, psychologists are heavily involved in product design. So from my own end, if you want to study cognitive psychology, very fantastic. Cognitive neuroscience, fantastic. Embodied cognition, very fantastic choice. I just want you to open your mind to. I mean, don't think of it as I want to do criminal psychology and do this. Don't just look within what is present in your environment, because then you are not preparing yourself to be a local champion. You are preparing yourself to be global citizens, and those you are competing with are not your lecturers in your university. They are not even your colleagues in your university. Those you are competing with are somewhere maybe in Silicon Valley, in US, maybe in China, or, So you have to think internationally. You have to think broadly. Yeah. So, and if you want to get into cognitive science, it's just a case of identifying the unis you want to. I mean, there are hardly any uni in Nigeria. There's hardly any uni in Nigeria that offers cognitive science, so your choice is limited. You have to look outside. So, and in looking outside, also you have to be. You are not looking outside because you just want to look outside. You're also looking in terms of ranking, of those schools, of what they have to offer, so that you can compete to the best.
Okay, I think that'll be all the question I have right now. And thank you so much, Bolaji, for having this impromptu. We came out for lunch and it became a YouTube. Thank you so much. It's so good to have you. You guys, so please do not forget to like, share to a friend who is studying psychology or is interested in psychology. And I will see you guys in the next video. Oh, lastly, in this video, we spoke about psychology as a career path, embodied cognition, neuroscience, all of those things, and the different paths that you can take in psychology as a young psychology student in Nigeria. All right, thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Bye.
No, because what I'm doing is actually psychology.
Yes, it is psychology. So, like, you know how practicing psychology, for example, practicing psychology.
Yes, yeah.
Every now and again we have certain individuals that we highlight. For a lot of Nigerians just believe that. So we're becoming serious and we've not started recording. But a lot of Nigerians just believe that it's only clinical psychology that there is in psychology, especially in Nigeria. So I would like to just kind of like talk about your own field and area in the specialty. Alright. Look to my camera. Is it more mad?
Yeah, it's cool.
What get?